Wayne Dyer was an American motivational speaker and self-help author. He started off as a high school guidance counselor and eventually built a thriving private therapy practice. If you follow his advice, he explains you'll stop basing your judgments on things on how they look or how other people perceive me, okay? Simply said, if you find yourself feeling hurt by the words of another person, you are implicitly stating that you value your own opinion of yourself more highly than mine. So let's get this straight. So you shift your focus from outside appearance to inward reflection on questions such as, what is the quality of my life? Instead of how it seems to other people. Do you really believe that there must be something wrong with me and my friends don't like me? You need to realize that the viewpoints of others are simply that, the viewpoints of others. That's the whole shebang. When you or your child express distress over the opinions of others, including their classmates, about them, you are saying something very significant. I care more about what you think of me than I care about what I think of myself, and you should never let someone have that much sway over you. This is so because they will never be without it. For those of you who crave affirmations, here's a humorous twist. So I'm here to tell you that being liked is one of the most exciting things in the world for me. People reading my books make me happy, and people applying to work for me makes me really happy. Additionally, I appreciate it when others compliment me. As a matter of fact, I'll be the first to say that I enjoy receiving compliments. What I don't do is seek validation from others. Wanting acceptance is very different from needing approval. In case where acceptance is required, if you give other people too much weight in your life, they can paralyze you. So for those of you who are thinking, yeah, but I want approval and I need it, and if I don't get it, etc. But know this, those who receive the most praise in life are the ones who don't give a hoot about it themselves. The people who are constantly seeking approval are the ones who receive the least of it. That's why, in the contradictory sense that I'm describing, seeking validation requires giving up the same things you seek. Consider who you look up to most and why. Consider the individual who has the greatest degree of social acceptance. You'll notice that this person gives a hoot about what other people think of them. They're too preoccupied with existing to give tabs on the going on around them. If you move boldly in the direction of your aspirations and make every effort to live the life you have envisioned for yourself, the rose promises, you will achieve a level of achievement that is unimaginable in normal circumstances. That's why it's not possible to achieve success in this world, because success is an inward journey. You can expect to acquire what you want out of life. Success is something you bring to everything you do. And when you do, you can confidently move on doing what you know makes the most sense based on your inner signals and discard the unnecessary debris along the way. A single moral consideration is that you should never restrict another person's freedom to act independently. Every person has the inherent right to move forward unafraid of the pursuit of their own goals. When you go against this, you go against the very principle of the cosmos, the very nature of the universe, which is cooperation and harmony. And as a result, success will start to chase you, and it will come to you and arrive in quantities you could never have imagined. Things will begin to occur in your life that you could never have imagined. You'll see it when you believe it in the working title of the book I'm now writing. When you put your faith in these ideas, you'll be able to see things that we missed the whole time we were back in this room, and the next 2, and the next 3, and the next 5, and so on, while you retreat from your true self. Things will begin to occur in ways that you are never imprisoned as long as you are returning to your universal nature, harmony with yourself, in cooperation with the rest. We use the term synchronicity to describe the mysterious nature of the coincidental events that have occurred in our lives. Before we depart, I'll show you a couple of them. What I mean by quality versus appearance is that you learn to tend to your inner candle flame in a way that produces quality, regardless of what other people think of you. Maslow's limited definition of self-actualization, people who claim to be independent of the approval of others, then turn out to be just that. They are too preoccupied with confidence moving forward, with common sense actions that bring success to change their baby's diaper, and bringing their weeding skills to the table to work as well. They take it on the plane, so that if they encounter an unpleasant flight attendant or other passenger, they won't take it personally. It's when they are right now, and they're sending their love from there. Get involved and lend a hand. You can always count on them to let you in when you need to go on the expressway. The one bad habit they used to have was thinking, oh yes, nobody's coming in front of me, I'm going there first, when they were on the 1 to the 6th, as if it slowed down somewhat, lacking the pressure to win at all costs and crushing an opponent they can relax. Absolutely, this is a brand new manner of being. It's a high-quality way of life in which you actively participate by working with others because of the harmony you share. Another crucial aspect of the new way of being is to emphasize on substance rather than form. In a world where some of the most heinous crimes have been committed in the nature of rules, it's clear that basing your life decisions on ethics rather than following the letter of the law is the best course of action. These rules are the law. Just what did you think Nazi Germany was about? Why is everyone acting so dreadfully towards one another? At Nuremberg, the "I'm merely doing my job" defense was widely heard. Simply said, I was working. Obeying an unethical rule is itself immoral. In addition, Maslow informs us that fully actualized persons have strict internal norms that they would never ever break, and they pertain to morality and the way you interact with others. What do you attribute our current predicament to? You're familiar with the name Rosa Parks, right? The Southern lady, the black Southern lady who answered, "Nope, not today. No, I won't be joining the back today. No way." In other words, I am familiar with the regulations. The guidelines varied widely. No need to ask if you already knew. A majority of the signs were colored on the reversal side and white on the front, and her response was a resounding negative. Here I am seated. Indeed, that was the deciding factor. Values, not regulations. When your kids begin breaking rules that they should break, do not be shocked to learn that I served in the military. On Guam, where I was stationed, there was a protocol that prevented local citizens from using the PX and Navy exchanges. However, other civilians were allowed to use Navy exchanges and PXs. However, if your eyes had differently shaped and your complexion was darker than average, you wouldn't be able to see a blatant infraction if you were a Guamanian. During my life, I served my country in the armed forces. I served in the Navy. As a career, mine was in communications encryption. They published an open letter in the Guam Daily News encouraging readers to share their opinions. An official letter writing competition took place. Furthermore, the winner received $75 as a grand prize. As of the writing, it was 1961. That meant a lot of money to me. That was close to a month's salary in the Navy back then. That's why I entered the competition. I was sure to win. At the point, I had already completed a novel. Almost the entirety of the novel I penned was stationed in Guam. It was obvious to me that there would be no competition. I felt bad for the other customers who were about to enter it. I felt confident in my own success. I didn't realize it till after I joined the military, and you think that way. In addition, you refused to report the incident up the line of command, putting you at risk of a court-martial. The discriminatory sales policy against us sailors will be front-page news in the Guam newspapers the next week. Sure, it's some serious heat. Even though the regulation was unethical, I was summoned to a meeting with the Vice Admiral commanding naval troops in the Mariana Island, where I was threatened with a court-martial for disobeying it. That type can be found in abundance. When I walked in and they threatened me with a court-martial, I informed them that this was how I intended to fight back. Back then, I had to stock up on carbon paper because we didn't have Xerox machines. I decided to send a letter to the current head of state, John F. Kennedy. Along with that, I sent a letter to the Naval Secretary. And I wrote a letter to the Detroit News and the Detroit Free Press, where I grew up, explaining what had happened to me for no other reason than speaking out against an unethical conduct taking place in Guam, and I presented my correspondence to the Vice Admiral of the Navy right then and there. Truth be told, I just sent the one to the President. These letters from the Navy Secretary are sent to newspapers all around the country, including the New York Times. I told him that the Los Angeles Times had published an article on the incident, and that I had just read it to him, and that if the court martialed me or punished me in any way, the policy would be exposed to the world, and I am well equipped to deal with whatever comes my way. Moreover, I was just 20 years old. The average age of college students was 21. All things worked out for the best, so that was a bonus. I was able to leave my position 90 days early. The president must have picked it up and forwarded it to the secretary because I never heard from him again. But now I have PII on my record, which stands for political influence. They also have a strong aversion to anyone in the armed forces who holds political sway. That was all it took for them to decide that this was not something they would be discharging anytime soon, Glock or court-martial. In addition, a new policy was implemented in Guam in September 1962 that made Navy exchanges open to the general public. And it came that because somebody said, these rules are immoral, and hence it is immoral to obey them. This gave rise to new ways of being ethics rather than rules. Your children will wonder why the rules are so illogical. When asked what was more important, my work or education, I was always honest because I remember how my mother had to do the same thing for me when I was young and made a fool of myself. That was how I felt about my job back then. But you get back from the world precisely what you put out. And if you keep getting things back that you hate and don't understand, don't try to figure out why. Think about why they keep coming back to you. And as you begin to take responsibility for your actions, you'll experience profound changes, a new way of being rather than rules, ethics, another new way of being, rather than spending your life searching for achievements and externals. Rather than focusing on success, you should try to acquire knowledge simply for the purpose of learning. For the sake of knowledge, in a context in which you don't have to collect a lot of merit badges. You go to school, explore the world, read, etc. because it makes sense to you, not because of what somebody else is going to put on a transcript or where you're going to appear in a chat list. We have a responsibility to instill in our children a love of learning and an appreciation for logic and reason. As opposed to simply giving up and giving in. We live in an achievement-oriented society, which suggests that people are valued and ranked according to the number and significance of their accomplishments rather than their level of knowledge. Higher blood pressure, ulcers, premature death, and even disease like cancer are beginning to be linked to the kinds of stress that we have. But most people fall into that trap and are stuck in a never-ending cycle of trying to go ahead at any cost. In addition, this is a flawless universe. There's no pressure involved. People are the only thing that adds stress. And when you put so much emphasis on winning and staying ahead of the competition, you lose sight of what success is all about. Objectives are not necessarily bad. You find yourself deeply in love with them. That's the catch though. The inability to adapt and change is to blame. If you're working toward a specific goal, say $1 million in the bank or a promotion that would allow you to buy 2 cars, then you're already well on your way. What you're doing is called striving, and it means to get closer to your objectives. When you reach your goal, you realize that trying is a depressingly low state of being. After all, if you're only ever known how to go somewhere by driving, you'll never be able to shake the more sickness. You'll merely rise your sights to $200,000 so you can buy more automobiles, a bigger house, more wives, and younger wives. If you're striving for something, but you also know that each step along the way is a precious moment to savor and appreciate, then your goal won't consume your life. Aimlessly wandering through life is how I describe myself. When I tell people where I plan to be in 5 years, they often express surprise. To what do you look forward to next? Just remembering what Lincoln said about how he was the greatest president ever sitting in that Oval Office brings back fond memories. Never had a policy, he declared. When asked about the time as president, he stated, "I just tried to do what made the greatest amount of sense each and every day of my life." And I believe that there's something genuinely substantial enough that you don't have to get it all planned out and follow a certain pattern and execute it in a certain way. The golden things will be taken care of if you just sort or trust your instincts and go that way and live each moment as it comes. But if you're willing to get up everything important to you and put your life on hold while you struggle your way to your goal, you'll never get there. As soon as you reach it, you'll want to improve it. Therefore, it'll forever evade you. Moreover, that is all you will ever learn. Realize that the highest form of sanity is taking pleasure in the present now. Everything else will work itself out.